Hey everyone, welcome to the next week of American Literature 2. I'm coming to you from my playroom where my kids hang out and my cats hang out. There's all sorts of fun things. Pokemon pillows, maps. Anyway, give you some tiny Pokemon. It's crazy. It's crazy. They're running around in the main part of the house, so I figured I'd hide in here. Okay. So, a few things as we're getting into this week. You're reading another Flannery O'Connor short story for this unit. I can't remember how many we have. We have one more after this? Only one more after this? Wow. Gosh, I love her so much. So, The River is really intriguing. This is more of a controversial short story because a lot of people are kind of up in the air about the interpretation. So, as always, hang in there till kind of midweek and I'll send you a video with my take on things, or I'll find another video of one that I really liked. So, The River, which is what we'll be diving into, is a lot like A Good Man is Hard to Find and The Life You Say May Be Your Own, because it revolves around the nature of faith and also its relationship to our lives and how we live. And as always, don't see this as particularly a Christian interpretation of faith, but more so along the lines of how our core and primary beliefs guide and navigate who we are, how it shapes our identity. So the story is about this kid named Harry, and he lives with his family, his mom and dad, who neglect him. And he has this encounter with the babysitter, who's this revivalist Christian, as well as this revivalist minister who assures him he's going to make his life count. Now, especially since we're people from the South, mostly, unless for some reason you're taking this class, for some reason you don't live in the South, which is great. You're totally welcome here, and I want to hear your interpretation too. I believe that a lot of us will kind of have a sense of familiarity with this brand of faith, to where it's really zealous, bent on proselytizing and evangelizing, and it kind of examines that type of belief and holds it up to the light, twist that gem around a little bit and let us see what it does to people, how it impacts others. So keep that in mind, and keep in mind what your experiences are with that type of zealous faith, and think about how Flannery O'Connor talks about it, if that intersects with your beliefs in a way that you find that resonates, or maybe it doesn't. Just keep all those questions in mind. What I want you to ask yourself is, ask, like, where's the story going? What is going to happen to Harry, who gets called Bevel? You'll find out. And then how the story ends up. Are you okay with it? Why or why not? As always, feel free to contact me via Canvas or the big blue button if you need help. So there's the text right there, same thing I've been giving you. And then I also want you to check out this link to History Channel's The 1950s, and just kind of familiarize yourself with the culture, different kind of touchstone events that are going on in the 1950s, and I think it'll help your interpretation when you're writing some too. So the writing is the same, right? So you're going to look at the story, ask the argument the story makes. And something, I've written a few notes here, so if I'm kind of going back and forth, understand that when you're talking about those arguments, that they need to be something universal. So, like in A Good Man is Hard to Find, you can make an argument and say that O'Connor argues that old values that see goodness as a product of blood or family are out of date and out of touch, something like that. That's an idea, a theme that applies to all of humanity. So some of you were, it sounds weird, but it's like you were too specific for your argument. You said something like, the argument is the grandmother is a bad person. Well, that's not the argument. That's a part of the story, but her character is what's building to the overall argument of the story. So keep that in mind. And along those lines, don't confuse the narrator or even the characters with Flannery O'Connor. So a lot of y'all in your writings, it's almost like you made Flannery O'Connor the grandmother, right? So you would say O'Connor argues that goodness comes from blood or your appearance. But that's the exact opposite of what O'Connor is arguing, right? So she creates this character, the grandmother, who is a person that you probably shouldn't like because she's racist and arrogant and manipulative, right? So your dislike of that character is a way of is O'Connor's way of communicating, hey, the values that this character that you don't like, the values that she holds and believes in, probably aren't very good values. So make sure you're not mixing those up. Lots of times authors will demonstrate particular ideas that they're trying to criticize by showing you a character that you're not supposed to like, right? So, and this happens a lot whenever I show students stories or films. So like if I showed you a movie, if we read To Kill a Mockingbird, and for those of you that don't remember, it's explicitly a story about how a black man is wrongfully accused and punished for killing a woman that he didn't kill, or not kill, but abuse. And your criticism of it said, I didn't like this book because it's racist. Well, the book's not racist because there are acts of racism in it, right? It's trying to demonstrate that racism is an evil that we must deal with as a society, right? So keep in mind that just because these particular elements are in a story, that the author could be criticizing them, right? So O'Connor isn't endorsing the beliefs that the grandmother has in that story. So make sure you don't mix those up. I think that's really important. Make sure that in your compositions you're including the name Flannery O'Connor, and you're also including the name of the story. So some of you just kind of start by saying, yes, I think blank. Give me something a little bit more formal in academic writing. So in Flannery O'Connor's short story, The River, she argues blank. And that's just kind of an easy way to make sure that you're addressing the prompt. So when I say the prompt, I mean these questions. These questions you need to answer. What argument does the story make? How does the story help us understand America and what it means to be American? Consider your own identity, cultures, beliefs, and background, and respond to the story. Do you agree with O'Connor's arguments and ideas? Why or why not? The point is for you to answer those questions, right? Some of you are giving me like a beautiful analysis that you're kind of pulling off of, your own ideas mixed with things that you get offline or the video that I sent, and it's beautiful. It's really good, but make sure that you're answering those 3 questions, right? Answer the questions. Okay? And yeah, and that's the last thing I wrote. Make sure that you're responding to the prompt. Anytime you're writing in any class, just always be thinking the prompt is boss. Let the questions guide you, okay? And along those lines too, make sure that you're using the text to answer the questions. So some of you might say, well, the river argues X. This makes me feel like blank, like the time I did X, Y, and Z, which is great. I want that self-reflective aspect, but you need to make sure that primarily you are writing about the text. So talk about how the text, the short story, illuminates those memories, helps you understand those memories, puts them in context to where it helps you understand American literature or what being an American really means. Okay? All right. That's all I've got. As always, make sure you reach out for help if you need it, and I will chime in either with a video from my own brain, or if I can find another good analysis from someone else, I'll send something to you throughout the week. All right, y'all have a good one.